Welcome, everybody. This is Life Beyond Boxes podcast with Premium Q Moving. My name is Victor Chavez, and on this solo episode, we're going to talk about how to get ready for a move in the winter. Welcome to Life Beyond Boxes, a podcast brought to you by Premium Q Moving and Storage. We're here to guide you through the ups and downs of moving. Whether you're just starting to pack or you're settling into your new home, trust me, we got your back. Let's make your move memorable and stress-free. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Now, winter is a great time for a lot of different reasons. There's holiday in there. There's probably snow on the ground. It's a winter wonderland for all. Well, I can promise you that it is anything but a winter wonderland when you're dealing with a move leading up in the winter. So there's a few things that you can do at 3 different stages leading up to your move date and right before your move date, and then even during your move to make moving in the winter turn into a winter wonderland instead of a catastrophe. So let's start with way before your move is even booked. So there's 2 different time frames and 2 different things you can do, one in the summer and one in the fall when you know that you might be moving in winter. That really helps you out. So first thing is, in the summer, you want to take a mental note of everything that's outside of your house. Now, summer is going to be the time that you use this stuff the most frequently. So things like patio tables, you're going to always remember that you have the patio table, you have 6 chairs, you have the umbrella, you have the grill. It's all the smaller stuff, the kids' toys that might be in the yard, the bird feeders, plant stands, the stuff that might be closer to the woods, that when it comes to even fall with the leaves or winter with the snow, they get buried. You don't think of it. Things on the side of the house. Ladders is a big one that we always hear about. So take a mental note of everything that might be in the back shed, everything that might be in the backyard in its entirety, just so when you're moving in winter, you can revert back to that list and make sure that you're counting for it, and make sure that on move day, you're telling the guys to go grab it. And then also try to get that stuff in the fall closer to the house. Obviously, if there's a big snowstorm and the bird feeders are all the way in the back, it's going to be hard for the guys to get and account for. So we want to make sure that in fall, you're planning accordingly with everything that you have to do in the winter. So making sure that all of that stuff is a little bit more upfront, maybe even put in a garage, maybe even put in the shed, just somewhere that's easier accessible than all the way back in your parking lot, or in your backyard. So that is definitely something that you can do in the summer leading up to make your moving a little bit easier in the winter, and then plan accordingly. In the fall, you want to be already thinking about your winter move. Everything moves slower in the winter, so packing is going to take a little bit more time. Some of these stores that you might be getting boxes from aren't going to have the supply and demand in the winter like they would in the summer. Days are shorter, it gets dark quicker, so the motivation to put in an all-day event to pack and get ready for your move just isn't really there in the winter compared to summer or fall. So make sure in fall you're setting realistic timelines. Make sure you're giving yourself enough time leading up to the winter move to make sure that you get everything done before we show up there on move day. So the next part we're going to talk about is leading up to move day. So one of the biggest things, and what everyone thinks about when they're moving in the winter, is what happens if it snows on my move day. So obviously, being a New England-based company, we deal with this all the time in Massachusetts. And it's tough. It's something where you plan accordingly, but you don't overreact to it. There's a lot of times where, we get the forecast and it looks like it's going to be no snow, and we get snow. It looks like it's going to be a nor'easter and we don't get anything. So it's really important to have just a future date plan. Talk to your realtor, talk to the lawyers, make sure that what is the worst case scenario if that does happen. So if it does come up, it's not foreign territory and you know exactly what to do. And then make sure you have an alternative date with your moving company so that that if it snows or northeastern on that day, that you're going to be able to pivot to that day pretty seamlessly. So just make sure you're asking the right questions. Make sure you know ahead of time what if scenarios. So if it does come up, you know it. Now, I will say that Of all the years that we've been running Premium Q, there has been very little times that we had to cancel a move on move day because of a snowstorm. Now, obviously, they're big trucks. We want to keep the guys safe, so it takes a good amount of snow to make us not be able to perform a move. You might, lack of better terms, it might be like school. It might not be the full snow day. It might just be a little bit of a delay on the start time, get the roads clean, and get the guys out there a little bit later. It's very rare that a day is going to be rescheduled last minute. And even that, we do a good job of kind of planning accordingly. If we think it's going to be some huge snowstorm, we'll most likely get in contact with you and say, hey, listen, why don't we just get out of this date? Why don't we not deal with it? Why don't you switch to this date? And then we obviously talk about what an alternative date might be. But it's always good to get that from your lawyer, get that from your real estate agent, just so you know the what if scenarios. And then obviously leading up to 1 or 2 days, maybe it snowed last week, you want to make sure that walkways, you want to make sure that driveways, and then like we talked about, you want to make sure that those access points to the backyard are clear for the guys. Now, our guys go above and beyond and do so much for their clients because they take pride in their work. But one thing that we are not is snow removal. We're not shovelers. The guys aren't going to get there on move day and shovel the driveway for you. They're meant there to move your furniture and help you out best as possible with the move itself. They unfortunately do not move snow. So you want to make sure that the driveways, the walkways, the backyard areas that we might need access to is cleared out leading up to move day. So that very next morning, you want to make sure that morning of move day, you want to make sure that everything's clear for the guys. And that doesn't just go for snow. So that, that goes for de-icing, put the salt out there for the guys. The guys are always going to have some in the truck. So if, they think it's a little bit more icy than it should be, they'll obviously lay down some salt, but you really want to make sure that that stuff is done ahead of time. That way the ice is melted, and that way no one's slip falling, getting hurt, and your furniture is in safe hands. So we want to make sure you're definitely doing that up to move day, a week before, leading up to the very few days before. And then you want to make sure that you are communicating more than ever with your moving company leading up to move day. So one of the things that we see all the time, no matter what the season is leading up to move day, you fall a little bit short on doing all the packing, which you said you were going to have done yourself. Again, we talk about it in this podcast all the time. It is absolutely no problem. The guys are always prepared to go above and beyond and help you out with whatever packing help you need on move day. However, in the wintertime, it's a little bit more apparent that we know that ahead of time. Obviously, it's a no-brainer that it gets dark pretty early in the winter months, and our goal is to make sure that all the moves are done before it gets dark. Now, there's a lot of times that we're not going to be able to help it, and they're going to have to work a little bit in the dark, but obviously moving gets a little difficult when you're dealing with large furniture and precious furniture, so we want to make sure that they're done before dark sets in as much as possible. So that's where calling your moving company leading up to it, say, hey, I'm just not quite ready in the packing as much as I thought I was going to. No problem at all. We'll still help you out. We might just send a couple guys to do it, that afternoon or the day before, when it can be dark, because obviously you have the lights in the house and packing is not as apparent. We might just send a couple guys out the day before to finish up that packing. That way it's rocking and rolling in the winter days of moving. So that's definitely a thing leading up to move day that you really, really want to do. So again, communication, staying in touch with your moving company to make sure that everything goes smoothly on move day. Guys, the last thing is something on move day itself. So again, we've talked about snow, we've talked about the salt, we've talked about the sand. It is a mess out there in the winter. Everybody knows it. And it's going to be a little bit more messier in the winter months during a move than it would be obviously in. So biggest thing is the guys are going to do their job. So they're going to lay out the rug runners. They're going to put some cardboard in some heavy traffic areas to make sure that we're not bringing in that snow, that dirt, that sand, that salt. But unfortunately, it does happen. So you need to plan accordingly. You need to give yourself a little bit more time to do that final, broom, sweep, mop, walk through of the house after we leave before you turn it over to the new sellers or the new buyers, I should say. So you want to make sure you're building in a little bit more time in that aspect. Like I said, the guys are going to do a good job wrapping your furniture so they're protected from the elements from house to truck. But you want to make sure that obviously you're giving yourself a little bit more time for cleanup, because as as much as we can do, it is going to be a little bit messier. You're still going to have to do a little bit more work on cleaning, especially in those front areas, like the front entrance in the house, back entrance, garage, things of that nature. So guys, I hope this helped. It's, again, not the funnest time to move in the winter. It's not fun to do anything really in the winter other than celebrate the holidays, but it is easy to do it if you follow these steps, if you keep in touch with us for more tips, more tricks on how to, again, make your move as stress-free as possible. That's the name of the game, no matter if it's spring, fall, winter, summer, whatever the month might be. The goal is to make this move as stress-free as possible. And doing it in the winter, if you follow these tips, I have no doubt in my mind that if you hire Premium Q, we're going to make that happen for you. So guys, thank you for listening to today's episode. Again, we appreciate you guys listening. We love giving you guys tips to make everything as stress-free as possible. Please drop down any questions or comments that you might have to future episodes, to anything winter related. And again, if you're moving in the winter, all you got to do is call Premium Q. Thanks you guys for listening. Thank you for joining us on Life Beyond Boxes. If you enjoyed this episode and found it to be helpful, please subscribe to our show. Don't forget you can watch these episodes on our YouTube channel. Just check the link in the description for this and other related episodes. Until next time, keep it moving forward, and here's to a life beyond boxes.